Living with an addict, what to know and how to cope. Addiction is a terrible thing and often has a prolonged and powerful impact both on the addict in question as well as the people and relationships that make up that person's life. If you find yourself living with someone who currently struggles with an addiction, it can be difficult to figure out what you can do to help them, and the stress involved will no doubt take a toll on your mental health as well as theirs. According to Christine Cherney of Healthline, the first goal in living with someone who suffers from addiction is to understand the nature of addiction itself, as well as the ways in which addiction can affect everyday life and relationships. Before we continue, you should subscribe to Bestie and ring the notification bell. That way you can always be sure to stay on top of our daily videos and newest content. If you know a loved one who is currently suffering from the effects of addiction, it can be hard to understand just what the other person is going through, as well as what you can potentially do to help them. Fortunately, by allowing yourself to gain a better understanding of addiction, you can learn how to prepare for and face the challenges that can happen as a result of this situation, and as a result, learn how to better care for both the other person as well as for yourself. According to the American Society of Addiction Medicine, addiction is defined as a chronic disease which affects parts of your brain, such as the reward, motivation, and memory functions. In other words, addiction rewires parts of your brain and leaves you craving a specific substance or behavioral habits, to the point where you might even start to neglect or ignore other, more important aspects of your life in order to satisfy these cravings. While some people might expect addictions to always be obvious, recognizing when someone you know is currently struggling with an addiction problem can actually be harder than it sounds. Generally though, an addiction does present a number of potential warning signs that you can be on the lookout for. When a person becomes an addict, they may experience a lack of control or an inability to stay away from whatever it is they're addicted to, as well as a decrease in socialization and social activities, a tendency to ignore risk factors and consequences in pursuit of the addiction, and even physical effects that can occur as a result of withdrawal symptoms when they can't access the thing that drives their addiction. The intensity of these symptoms may also indicate how long the addiction has been going on for, with longer periods of addiction leading to more intense symptoms. Over time, dopamine receptors in the brain begin to treat whatever that person is addicted to as a reward. As a result of this, the brain begins to change over time as it adapts to the substance that fuels the addiction, becoming increasingly dependent on it. Because of the effect that it has on the person's brain, addiction is considered to be a chronic or long-term disease. Even if an addict is aware of the physical, emotional, and financial consequences that stem from their addiction, the effect that addiction has on their brain chemistry means that they may still feel powerless when it comes to attempting to overcome these cravings and urges. Fortunately, there are ways in which addiction can be treated by medical and mental health professionals. For a short-term solution, there is the option of inpatient rehab. For a long-term option to work towards recovery, other possible services include counseling and health coaching. When a loved one or someone you know is undergoing any of these steps in the recovery process, one of the most important things to keep them motivated is help and accountability from the friends and loved ones in their lives. According to Cherney, when someone close to you is struggling with addiction, it's important to not take matters personally. Based on what we've already said here about how addiction works, this may seem obvious. However, Cherney warns that this is easier said than done, especially if you've already tried to help the person with their addiction and nothing has seemed to work. Addiction is something that takes multiple people to treat, including trained professionals such as doctors as well as friends and family. Addiction can, nevertheless, have some serious effects on a person's relationships, especially with those that they share a household with. Living with someone with an addiction can affect people in a number of different ways, and it may cause you to feel strong emotions such as anxiety, stress, depression, guilt, anger, and embarrassment. Living with an addict can also lead to financial troubles, inconsistent routines and schedules, and even an increase in physical and security danger. When living with a loved one who is currently struggling with the effects of an addiction, it is important to avoid blaming yourself, but also take steps to protect the safety and well-being of both yourself and your family. Things you should consider when living with an addict include keeping family safe, especially vulnerable family members such as children, elderly relatives, and pets. Setting a responsible plan in case things start to escalate. Restricting the addicted person's access to money. Setting household boundaries. Encourage your loved one to seek treatment. Cherney also suggests that when helping a loved one with addiction, it is also important to prioritize self-care, as the stress involved with your situation can otherwise lead to you beginning to neglect your own needs. She also suggests that you may find some help and guidance by joining a support group, either online or in person. As we said before, helping a loved one doesn't stop at the recovery phase either. Even when your loved one seems to be reaching the end of their addiction, they can still potentially be vulnerable to relapses. Because of this, it's important to continue providing support and to build trust with your loved one in order to let them know that they can continue to look to you as someone they can go to help them control their addictive urges. And while it might take a while to fully rebuild your trust with a person once they enter recovery, you can help yourself through this process by speaking to a mental health professional, such as a therapist. Addiction can be a difficult cross to bear. When a person is suffering from addiction, unconditional love and support from the most important people in their lives can make a monumental difference in terms of their ability to recover. While addiction is stressful for everyone involved, never lose sight of the things that you can do to help a loved one overcome their struggle. Did you find this video helpful or informative? Is there anything you'd like to add that you think we missed? If so, feel free to let us know in the comments section below and help us keep the conversation going. Enjoyed this video? Hit the like button and share with your friends. Also, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.